Hey, and welcome to the Pain Points Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and last week we spoke about, we had Chris Moore from Elite Business Advisors on, and we were talking about systems for sustainability. And we had a really good discussion on how systems aren't just for growth and scaling, but the benefits of having systems for a micro company or smaller company where you just have, even like myself, just one operator, one employee of the company, how that can benefit you long term. Some of the benefits that I've noticed by documenting my systems are less stress. I'm able to focus more on the task at hand instead of letting my mind wander. Also, I know that going forward, when I do hire people, that a lot of these tasks that I'm wanting to communicate and to document, it's already going to be done. So there's less stress in the future, and I won't have to scramble once I get somebody on, in order to do it. Another good point that this helps with is it now frees you to be either more creative in another aspect of your life or another aspect of the job, or to push your craft even further. And all of these are great points that you're literally freeing up the memory, the RAM, if you will, by doing these. But one thing that we didn't touch on last week was how to develop these. Keep in mind that we brought up the analogy that these are living documents. And what does that mean? So last week we brought up that another word for business is organization. And an organization, the root word is organism, which means it's a living thing. So as your organization or your business changes, these documents are going to need a change, whether you wind up having generalists at the beginning who do many things, or if as you continue to scale, that you wind up having more specialists in these different fields. So these are different ways that these documents can change. Also, if you wind up developing a new process or needing to develop a new process for a new product that you're using. Currently, I don't mix any products. Everything is straight out of the can with the processes that I'm using, the products that I'm using. But that's changing pretty soon. I'm going to be switching to a 2K poly for my cabinets, no longer using a urethanized enamel. So being that it's a two-part system, I'm going to have to document and make sure that I'm testing to make sure that my process is right, and then adjusting the documentation to go along with that, so that not only I can train, but I can also reinforce these habits, or even have something to go back to as a resource for myself, in order to maybe double check something or find an improvement. If I document what I'm doing, I'm taking more of a scientific approach as opposed to an emotional approach when it comes to how I do things. I also find that by promoting a process and being confident in promoting that process goes a long way in sales when it comes to clients. Many times we're dealing with clients that we've never met before, and we have a very small window to develop trust. And by promoting that we have a system, a process that's kind of like a vending machine, right? When I use this vending machine analogy all the time with my clients in comparing it to the process, because when you have a vending machine, you put $1 in, you punch a couple numbers, and you expect to get a bag of chips. Well, if a Coke pops out, even though Coke's delicious, you're going to be upset about that, because that's not the desired outcome that you wanted, being a bag of chips. It's the same thing with the process. I know that if I follow a specific sequence of actions, that I'll get a desired outcome. And that's really what the client is paying for, along with my expertise, is this desired outcome, this process. And that's what helps to differentiate me from other contractors bidding on a similar project. They're not able to tout that same process or give reasoning beyond just that they're going to change the color in some cases. So the whole point of going on talking about last week was I kind of wanted to show you how I was able to start documenting these things, these different processes within my organization, my company. So I'm going to share the screen here for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. So here we have, this is a folder that I have for estimate templates. And the way that this started was when I went to the PCA Expo last year. I had this epiphany that, as far as documenting processes, this is something that I was already doing. When I'm typing up a proposal to give to a client, I'm telling them exactly what we're going to do. When we're meeting face to face, I'm figuring out what their needs are, what their wants are, and then what we're starting off with. And then I'm creating a custom coding system for them to be able to go from point A, where they're starting at, to point B, where they want to be at. I go in detail of the process, whether it's setup, prep, super important, sanding, cleaning, all these different things that we wind up doing, taking off the outlets or taking off doorknobs, go through, and I'm very detailed speaking to the client. Now, sometimes we run into a not ideal situation to where there's two decision makers, but only one of them's present. I don't want all of that information that I just recited to a client to get lost when it comes to relaying that to the other decision maker. So I'm very careful about when I do type my proposal that I'm doing the same thing. Order of operations, specific, how many coats, how many times we're going to sand something, the order of operations, and then the actual product name included in that. I want to give them everything so that if they're looking at two proposals and they see that mine's 20, 30, 40, 50% more, they know that, proposal A just says change color of room, X amount of dollars. Why is the paint professor quote what it is? Well, he's going through and he's sanding the baseboards, he's sanding the doors, he's going to degrease key areas where contact is, to make sure that we have a good bond coat. And then he's using premium products, and he's not shortchanging us by only doing one coat, even though the manufacturer prescribes a 2-coat process for this, even on a recoat. So things like that is what I go to communicate, and then I follow that up in my proposal, and then I deliver on those things. I pride myself in delivering on those things. So I realized that by being able to document these things and the way I've been documenting them, that those are my SOPs. It's a living document. Right now, I don't need to get into the nuances for myself of why I'm doing certain things necessarily. However, the order of operations is there. The number of coats are there. The products that are being used are there. And this is something that I can start off training and a new hire, someone who's never had any painting experience. I can start off using these as a guideline or as an SOP for them. And as questions arise during the training process and they say, oh, hey, why are we doing this? Or, well, what about this? What's next? And something was missed, I can go back and insert those items into these SOPs so that now, as we continue to repeat and build these procedures and we repeat these tasks in the field, the employee or the apprentice will be able to reference the documents first and then ask questions second. And that's the ultimate goal. That's what's going to help us get out of this feeling of or PTSD of babysitting adults. Like, let's give them the right tools to start off with, and this includes policies and procedures so that they can be successful and we don't have to babysit them. So one of the things that I wanted to go over was with exterior painting. Let's see. So on exterior painting, there we go. Super simple. I don't even have a title on it because right now it's just for me. I have the title as the document. So the very first thing is perform soft wash for paint prep on building exterior. A soft wash for a paint prep is going to be a more detailed exterior cleaning in low-lying areas where there's peeling paint and things like that. Obviously, if it's post 1976, we're not worried about lead, so we can hit it a little bit harder, use different tips, but for the most part, we're going to be using a soft wash system on this. You get a deeper, longer lasting clean when it comes to exterior cleaning, so that's typically what we're using for that. And then also other steps if we've been able to upsell other items in the home or around the property. The next thing is to prep the building for paint, paper, tape, and tarp. So we'll protect the roof if we're doing soffits and eaves. We'll either use tarp or cardboard in the gutters if the client has gutters. And then taping off windows using plastic masking film to tape off windows, protecting doors, protect anything that we're not wanting to get a coating on. The next step is to apply 1 coat of Loxon conditioner as needed for bond coat. This was something that I used to do 100% on everything, but I realized that over time that I only need to do this as needed. Any area that's showing that it's chalking, we have a lot of homes down here in Florida that get abused by the sunlight. The UV is just detrimental. And then on top of that, our clients are waiting way too long to get these coatings refreshed. So the acrylic, the bonding agents within the original coating are well past their shelf life. So we need to do something to encapsulate that. And then only after we've done the conditioner will we apply a elastomeric patch, a brush grade, and then that way we're able to blend it in on stucco. Do lots and lots of stucco houses down here in Florida. And then this is my base, the lowest level system that I'll use as far as coating systems go, is 2 coats of Latitude on the walls, and then we repeat that for soffit, fascia, gutters, downspouts, because those are typically two separate colors, and then 2 coats of emerald on the front door. So this is pretty simple as far as an SOP goes. Obviously, there are things that I can do going forward. I can expound on some of these things in writing. Like, for example, we want to use that bond coat first before we're doing elastomeric patch or any type of sealant on the building. That way we have something to stick to. Otherwise, these things are just going to fall off, and water is our enemy, especially when it comes to stucco or really just building science in general. So this was just an example of what I did. This is actually what I use currently when I'm sending a proposal to a client. It's not extremely detailed. I mean, I guess it's pretty detailed, all things considered, but it's not above and beyond detailed saying reasonings that I would definitely want more detail showing this to an apprentice and working through that system as an apprentice. And who knows, with the right apprentice on your side, you could hand this document over to them and have them make notes through the day. Like, what questions came up for you? What things were not listed on this that you wish were answered on this? Like, these are things that you can have their involvement, and then now they're becoming a process engineer instead of just a painter. They're having more involvement, and they're looking for ways like, hey, maybe if I did this or that, like, we could help out and make this process better. And then they have buy-in. Ultimately, that's what we're looking for from our employees, for them to feel belonging, and that they're not just slapping a coat of paint on the wall, that they have more buy-in to do different things like that. So like I said, this is a copy of my SOP, what we actually do in the field on a regular basis for exteriors. And then I've also got the same or similar documentation, very, very generic, very basic, just order of operations, number of coats, and what type of product it is for the majority of the services that I perform. So if you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out to me at The Paint Professor on social media. Reach out, put a note below down here on YouTube as well. I'd love to start hearing some feedback from you guys. Really appreciate everybody who has been involved and checking this out. I hope that I'm able to give you some value and maybe help you look at your business a little bit different. I know these are things that I've been struggling with, things that I've been wrestling with in my mind for years now, literally years. And at the end of the day, you just got to do it. I know you can do it. You have all of the knowledge in your head. You just got to put pen to paper. I really like this quote. I've probably used it way too many times already, but a short pencil is better than a long memory, and that's something that I'm really taking to heart. So really appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next week.